Hello everyone and welcome back to Dark Souls 3. Today we are taking a look in depth at the bow Cleric. A lot of you guys have seen the little teaser videos I've been putting out over the past couple of days, and we finally made it to the showcase. I apologize that it took so long and I did so many little teaser videos, but I haven't had much time to record recently, so it is what it is. Either way though, the video is finally here, so let's get started with the stats for the build. First off, actually, let's take a step back. Let's go over the starting class, because I kind of made a mistake. Originally, this build was planned to be using a bow, like an actual bow, not the lightning arrow miracle exclusively. That said, it didn't end up working out to the, extent that I would have liked, so we scrapped that thought, and we went to a pure caster sort, and this is what came out. That said, how I had it set, I started the build on a knight starting class. Ideally, with the way we have it set, the Cleric starting class would have been better. It would have saved us around, I believe it was a total of 5 levels. Not the biggest deal, however, it does impact the build, because to bring up our faith to 60, we do have to use the Priestess ring, so it would have freed up a ring slot. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's a problem and it does exist. Excuse me. Other than that, though, we have a lot of base stats. We actually, on this build, only upgraded 4 different things. We upgraded our Vigor, Attunement, Endurance, and Faith. So we've got 38 Vigor, 40 Attunement, 20 Endurance, and 55 Faith. And that puts us at level 120. If I did want to go up to 125, which I can do, I'd be able to free up that ring slot, put in something different, and get a little bit more damage out of the bow maybe, or put something on that increases my ability to dodge. There are options. Either way though, it doesn't make that big of a difference. So, moving on from here, the spells that we are using in miracles. First off, Lightning Arrow, of course, because we are a bow Cleric. We need to have a bow of some kind, and yeah, sure, the bow this time around is a miracle, but hey, it's a bow. It counts just as much of a bow as anything else. You can draw the arrow, you can let go of the arrow. The arrow goes, it hits your opponent, it misses, it is what it is. You can move around with it just like a bow. You can't do roll shots, which is not the end of the world, and overall, it's a fantastic miracle. Following that, we've got the Way of White Corona, which people generally try to dodge for whatever strange reason, even though it only deals around 100 damage at the most. So basically with that, you can use it to force your opponent to have bad positioning, which will let you hit them with your other miracles. I don't know how many times I've actually used the Way of White Corona to force someone to dodge when, well, when they didn't really need to and they took more damage because they dodged and ran into my lightning arrow than they would have if they had just taken the hit from the Way of White Corona. It is what it is. Other than that, we've got the Life Hunt Scythe, which is a really great one. I enjoy this one a lot, especially when you take into account the Sunlight Talisman and its Unfaltering Prayer skill. So you can trade hits with this thing on its skill, and it's phenomenal, especially because with the Life Hunt Scythe it does steal your opponent's health. So that's a great utility to have. It's a good way to regenerate some health in a pinch, and because it has so much hyper armor on that skill, you can actually out-trade great hammers, paired great swords, stuff like that. It's really a phenomenal thing to have. So that's another one. We also have Lightning Storm, same concept. It deals more damage, doesn't steal health. That said, it's a close range one, just like Life Hunt Scythe, so it gives you some options. And finally, what kind of faith build would be complete without Sunlight Spear to throw one of Gwyn's wonderful bolts of lightning into your opponent's face? I mean, really, what kind of faith build would I be if I did not have Sunlight Spear? It's nice to have another ranged option, especially when your opponent is backing away, when they're in the middle of chucking an Ashen Essence themselves, if they're throwing something at you and you time it properly, or if they're rolling close to you after you hit them and you get a little bit lucky. So there's a lot that you can do as far as the order you use the spells in on this build, but as you guys have seen from the video so far, I typically like to start off with the Way of White Corona and move into Lightning Arrow. When the opponent moves closer to me, I'll switch to either Life Hunt Scythe or Lightning Storm, depending on whether or not I need health or not. And then Sunlight Spear just comes in randomly whenever I really feel like it, because it's not the most useful one, but it's good to have the extra damage on a ranged attack, so it is what it is. Now, as far as the rings that I am using, first off, we are going to be using the Sage's Ring to increase our casting speed. It actually does have a massive impact on Lightning Arrow, like absolutely ridiculously different. so you can spam shots very quickly with that ring on. Other than that, we are wearing Morn's ring and the Priestess ring and the ring of the Sun's Firstborn to boost all of the lightning damage, because why would you not want to have all of the lightning damage instead of just some of the lightning damage? It is what it is. I mean, I like actually dealing significant amounts of damage. Can't talk today. It is what it is. So, yeah. Now, as far as how the build performs, I can't complain at all. It's a really fun build to use. I really like it a lot. You have to really sort of judge your spacing very, very well. Having the guaranteed hyper armor on Unfaltering Prayer means you can get attacks that you normally wouldn't be able to get, and people don't really know how to fight this build all that well. I mean, clearly there was the guy in the beginning of the video who used Vow of Silence. That did not work well in my favor. Of course, I could technically, with the stats that I have, use a different melee weapon. However, the Bow Cleric, by tradition, uses a Mail Breaker. In this case, I chose to go with a Blessed Mail Breaker. If you guys saw the little healing video that I put up the other day on the Bow Cleric where that guy kept running off and healing, you would probably have noticed that my health actually continued to regenerate as well. Blessed weapons actually regenerate health over time. A lot of you guys might or might not know that. But if you've got someone who is constantly running away and you've got a blessed weapon on, you're going to get health back too, so hey, no worries. It's a good thing to have. Damage-wise, a little bit meh. The lightning one would deal more damage, but I feel like as far as the utility, because it's not a main source of damage, the blessed version is more beneficial. Also, one thing that I do with this a lot, with the Mail Breaker specifically, is that if I hit someone at point blank with a lightning arrow, you can actually follow it up with an R1 and it will be a guaranteed hit. It gets them every single time when they are close enough for it to actually land. So theoretically, if I had a different weapon on, same concept would apply, so long as it's fast enough to get that hit. So a different dagger, Corvian Great Knife, for a little extra range, that might be a good option. Alternatively, maybe a rapier, or even a straight sword would be a possibility. And on that note, yes, I could actually use the Sunlight Straight Sword on this build. It does actually have an impact, the buff does actually have an impact on miracle damage. However, that's something else that I would have to put on and buff with, and that just takes time away from when I can start fighting, so I chose to not go that route. After all, the Bow Clerics in the past have never really been much for buffing themselves with anything like that, so I decided I didn't really want to change it up all that much. And that's fine. It all worked out relatively well in the end. So, the only other things that I can really think that are worth mentioning with this build. First off, of course, Vow of Silence does not work well against me. I mentioned that briefly. A few other things that do not work well against this build. Straight Swords. Straight Swords are the bane of this build's existence. All you have to do is run into my face, just run straight at my face and start spamming with your Straight Sword and I will fall apart on this build. No problem. Yes, it's a possibility where it can, I can use Unfaltering Prayer and maybe deal a little bit of damage and maybe survive, maybe convince you to back off, but if you just stand your ground and just spam away at me, can't do too much. It's not really a good thing, and considering how popular Straight Swords are in this game, well, I'm sure you guys can imagine, but either way, there is one final fight starting up right around now. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you have enjoyed watching me play on this build. More videos will come. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.